So in Parallels Remote Application Server webinar today, we'll be talking about version 15.5 launch, which will be introducing our new features from Parallels Remote Application Server. Just a couple of items to remind you. If you have questions throughout the presentation, please use our Q&A/chat window, and we will be addressing those in the end of the presentation today. Just a quick introduction about Parallels. Probably you might have heard about us, but if you haven't, just a very, very quick introduction is we have started in the Mac industry many, many years ago, allowing Windows to run at the same time as Mac operating system side by side with a great experience, and also allowing Windows applications to run on Mac environments. For the last couple of years, we have started investing in other areas, and two of them is the Parallels Remote Application Server, which is the big topic for our today's webinar. And the second one is our Parallels Mac Management for Microsoft SCCM. So if there are details about these products that we don't cover today in the webinar, please feel free to go to parallels.com or even contact one of our sales team. So we have more than 5 million customers. A few, they are in the remote application server area, and our footprint today varies between government, education, healthcare, manufacturing, and other industries. But the big topic today is how can we help you, and how with the new version of Parallels Remote Application Server version 15.5 can help you. So we have made changes into our solution that are focused in comprehensive security, easy scalability. We have made significant changes in the back end, user experience, leveraging our Parallels Access product line into remote application server now. And we are proud to announce that we're cloud ready, supporting AWS and Azure clouds. So in the next few weeks, you will probably starting to see our offerings in their marketplaces. But if you have use cases today that requires those two or even other cloud providers, we can support you on how to onboard the application and even users to remote application server on cloud. Just a quick reminder, what is remote application server, or just a recap if you know it, but if you're new to RAS, just a quick introduction to it. Basically, what we do is easily delivering any Windows applications or even full VDIs, virtual desktops, using Microsoft RDS or Remote Desktop Services RDSH on top of any hypervisors to any devices. And when I speak about any devices, it's the ability to deliver to PCs, Macs, Chromebooks, Raspberry Pis, or even if you are traveling or on the road and you don't want to install a client, we provide a full reach HTML5 client. Therefore, no applications are installed on your local device, and files as well. So you can keep control of the files to stay in the data centers and not be shared without proper policies. From a competition perspective, what is important for us is a few areas. One of them, from an administration point of view, it's easier to deploy, maintain, and manage. It's quicker to deploy, specifically for POCs, scalability changes, or even if you're spinning a new farm, we can quickly add new terminal servers, gateways, or even using our own high availability load balancer to distribute the traffic. Simple by design, allowing for fast and easy integration, which means all of the interaction from an administration point of view is always done from the console. And the console will be orchestrating changes to your environment, even if you are looking to change policies on the fly and distribute the loads between user consumption or even load distribution. With that lean and very easy to use technology, it gives us a good advantage in terms of cost-effective implementation and operation, which translate into quicker return of investment. And when you use remote application server, we can have our controller, if you will, managing terminal servers from Windows Server 2003 all the way now to Windows Server 2016, which I'll give a few more details in a few minutes. So let's get into more details into the new features of Remote Application Server version 15.5. So there are three major areas. The first one, it's the client improvements, large environments, scalability, and the third one is the support to cloud and Windows Server 2016. So on the client side, and you will see that today during the demo in the end of the presentation, is we have our own magnifier and interaction with the applications if you're using an Android device or even iOS. So we call it easy swipe, drag, tap and click, or even zoom in applications in real time. The second aspect that we have improved the usability using mobile devices and tablet. It is very native touch capabilities and gestures, and those work now with published applications. And those published applications could be Windows apps or browser apps or even Linux apps that they are being hosted by a terminal server. And the other improvements that we have done is now we're supporting video streaming using H.264. And if you have use cases that might require Skype for Business, for example, we can combine our audio capabilities and our video streaming capabilities and deliver it for you. The second point is improvements for large environments. In the previous architecture, you could have only two publishing agents or controllers, if you will, a master and a slave. In version 15.5, we introduced the concept of multiple active publishing agents, gateways, and RDS servers. That translates to zero failover now. Zero fail points in the solution, and we're totally failover compliant, which means if one component goes offline, the load distribution, it's distributed automatically to other publishing agents, terminal servers, or even gateways. We call it smart workload because we identify which servers are consuming more resources, so new incoming connections are distributed automatically to other servers. And with Microsoft's launch of Windows Server 2016, we are now compatible with Windows Server 2016, all versions running either on-premise or even cloud. And as usual, you can deploy Remote Application Server in private, public, or even hybrid clouds. In version 15.5, we worked in four major areas. You saw the three major topics, but what is also important to highlight in this particular slide, what a little bit of functionalities that have been changed that makes either better core, ease of use, mobility, and service provider use cases. So for a core perspective, now we mentioned about active publishing agents, but if you're working with VDI, we are beginning to support link clones, and we already support KMS activations for VDI. We introduced a new adjustable printing compression, and of course, Windows Server 2016 support, leveraging also new features coming in Remote FX and RDP protocol. On the ease of use, management became easier. We have a new HTML5 client that you can interact with the local client if it's installed. This is an initiative to you can actually use the HTML5 portal and don't use the old web portal anymore, which makes it easier for you to deploy and even load balance across different gateways and HTML5 traffic. On the mobility side, which I'll be showing you, it's the new clients that we have designed and created for iOS and Android devices, and the new features related to Remote FX, Progressive, Clear Codec, H.264 on non-Windows clients. For service providers, this is a very interesting feature. We replace our licensing model and our licensing system, which now in the SaaS model, we collect information daily and we send it automatically to Parallels My Account. And the information is aggregated using one single key for multiple farms, which means you can have 5, 10, 15 different farms with the same key, and that information will be automatically consolidated from a reporting point of view. On the scalability side, just to give you an idea about how many different tasks or things that have been changed into the core side, in general perspective, we made 23 different improvements in the entire product. On the gateway side, 5 different tasks related to redesign, speeding up the loading process, and actually one of them, it's related to auto start applications or hot start, if you will, when the user logs in either in the portal or even into the client. Large environments, I already mentioned most of those topics. The last one is very important. We have done report engine optimizations, which is speeding up the process to load reportings, and as well for how long you can keep the data. Now you can use for a much longer period and do a longer analysis about user access, application access, user consumption, or even what type of devices your users are accessing remote application server. On the VDI side, we mentioned about KMS activation, and we are in the process to release another update sometime soon to support link clones for Hyper-V and VMware, which will also include Test Template Wizard as well. Other improvements in general, the first one is very important. Now we're supporting Microsoft User Profile disks. We have also documentation on how to enable it and use it in our Parallels KB articles, which is kb.parallels.com. We have new adjustable printing and scanning compression, which means we already compress the documents, but now we learn how you are connected or how users are connected, and we are adjusting the compression in real time. And in fact, I'll be showing you that in the demo in a few minutes as well. A long time feature request was auto start applications at the user logon on RAS immediately after app enumeration. So now it's supported for all clients, so including HTML5. So if you decide to auto start an application or have hot start, no problem. It's supported throughout the entire front end perspective. We revamped the RAS logging. This is another request that came from several customers. In the past, logging was always disabled, so if you had issues, it was a little bit difficult to find out the reasons. Now we created a new logging mechanism, and it's actually enabled by default without creating any additional overhead to the remote application server infrastructure. Of course, you can go to another level without changing registry keys. This is another improvement that we have done, so you don't have to reboot servers anymore to enable different types of logging. And from a management perspective, we introduced a new licensing notifications and alerts to tell you when the license is about to expire, or alerts of people using applications that might be reaching the limit that you set into the filters. Windows Server 2016. So as a platform, we can publish our publishing agent, gateway, and other components. They have all been tested into Windows Server 2016. You can use as a hypervisor as well to deploy VDI components and for terminal servers. Therefore, the entire remote application server suite is compliant to Windows Server 2016. And on the deployment side, just to remember, you can do on-prem, hybrid, or 100% cloud deployment, and that it's already tested. And we already have customers now using a combination of those technologies, or even a single one. From a security perspective, we have now advanced access control with highly granular permission capabilities. You can make changes them on the fly and apply to the clients, and they will be pushed in real time. Data segregation and encryption has been changed and improved in version 15.5. All of our components, the SSL and TLS components and RDP security level, have been increased and updated to the latest standards. Now, on the support two-factor authentication, we are adding new capabilities as well, which will be added throughout updates that will be coming in remote application server. In the new iOS, actually this slide explains a lot. We have the new iOS clients. On the left side, we have the old client that is now called 2X Legacy. And on the right side, it's what we transform from Parallels Access into Parallels Remote Application Client, or if you search it on the Apple Store or Google Play, it's called Parallels Client. So the completely new interface has been designed, which I'll be showing you in the demo in a few minutes. What is very important is the same experience you see on the iOS is the same on Android. And if you look into Parallels YouTube channel, you can see a demo of both technologies side by side, and you will see that the experience is pretty much the same. On the client side for PCs and Macs and Linux, we have made significant changes into the Windows side, specifically for improved SSO wrapper, session management, like logging off and disconnect actions. On the Mac side, we did a lot of changes. Now we're introducing new keyboard shortcuts between Mac and Windows, backend, bidirectional audio, improved multi-monitor, and for Macs using Retina display, we now support Retina display as well. Now, on the auto reconnect and resolution changes when you have multiple monitors, once you plug a new display, you can automatically change those settings without logging off and logging back in. On the client side Linux, we support now 64-bit SSO components and as well H.264 for Raspberry Pis. So if you're doing video streaming and audio requirements, even on the Raspberry Pi, that it's now supported as well. In the HTML5 client, here is a very big visual change, in fact. We implemented a policy now to launch apps via desktop versions, so we can detect the portal if you have the client or not. If you don't, you just use HTML5 delivery. But if you want to use a hybrid mode to leverage features like scanning or even local disk access, you can just download the client and automatically set the connection strings. You don't have to manually add them. Although the website tells you this is how you connect if you want to save these particular settings. The persistent favorite now, it's stored on the server side. So if you log on from computer A to computer B, or then you travel and access from a computer C, it doesn't matter. Your favorite settings will be maintained and you will have that information saved. We combine taskbar items when you have so many applications open. And now we support SSL offload on the high availability load balancer, which means you can truly load balance the front end, which was something we could not do before if you were using the web portal. So if you need high availability and you're using our load balancer, I recommend you to start looking into our HTML5 gateway. The printing part, I'll be showing you more details when I go to the demo, but basically through policies you can set how printing compression is enabled or disabled. Basically, it's nothing changed on the user side, but on the policy side, you can set all of those different parameters between bass speed, uses less CPU, bass size uses less network, or based on connection speed, which we're metering in real time, the client can make a decision what would be the best approach to be done. In RDP 8, we are now supporting clear codec, remote FX, H.264 to all of our non-Windows clients as well. So for an end user perspective, there are significant performance improvements when they are connecting from a long distance to a remote application server farm. We are now also supporting remote FX adaptive acceleration, except the Parallels Client HTML5 client, but we're working on this particular module to support it in upcoming version 16, which is coming next year. So again, we have made a lot of changes in the back end and also doing a lot of things in the front end side as well. With that being said, now let me just switch to my demonstration. So let's connect to the iPad now and open the Parallels client and connect to the demo environment. Once connected, we can pick the applications that are pre-populated here by application groups or rows, and we will open Microsoft Excel on Windows Server 2016. Once the application is open, we will leverage the new features we have, which is it's in our magnifier, where we can identify pixel by pixel what you have in the app and use the function that you have in the app. In this case, the chart, make it bigger or smaller. I can pick a specific cell, for example, number 5, and then change the settings. So I can just tap and use the magnifier to select precisely and change dynamically the content. As you can see, the number 5 changing colors. And also, we can send this particular output to a printer. So let's say I want to send this to my printer, which is in my iPad, send to print, and we use the Parallels printer driver. The Parallels printer driver replaces the PDF export that you would have to export, download, open, and print. Here with one-click printing action, you're sending to your printer. Very, very simple. The same effect happens on the HTML5 client, which we'll be seeing in a couple of minutes. The second important component I want to showcase in the iOS experience and Android as well, it is the app launcher. And as you can see here, when you tap on the button that it's highlighted in red, we can see the application already open. Let's say now I open another Excel file, let's say my personal expenses, create, and when I launched the app launcher, now I can see both applications and I can toggle between one and another. But let's say I want to introduce another application, and in this case I want to open Word. Sharing the same desktop experience, I have Word now open, open a new blank document, say hi there, and the app launcher now is showing you the other application as well. And let's say I want to go back to my original Excel spreadsheet. Tap here and voila, the transition is very, very simple. I'm using an Apple keyboard, but if I want to leverage specific function keys, I can just close my keyboard here and use the native keyboard interaction, and I can use F keys, for example, or even arrows, or even home and page up, page down that you see in a normal keyboard. A lot of people think this is a regular iOS keyboard, but in reality, this is coming from our client interaction between user and the application itself. Another big aspect to show you here is if I want to use a full Windows 10 type of experience in my tablet. So I can go back to my app launcher and launch a virtual desktop. And we're in the process to launch the Windows 10 session here, where we can see a Windows 10 experience. And in this case, I think using the mouse would be easier for me. So I can click on the gear, use the mouse pointer, and now I can use a left and click feature buttons, as you can see here on the desktop. So I can, the same thing that I did before, open Microsoft Word, open an application and interact with that. Another interesting feature that we have here in the desktop, if it's click on the gear, you see that the microphone is open. We can use applications now with bidirectional audio. And if you have the use case of Skype for Business, this could be a use case for that. So let's disconnect and switch the demo now to the HTML5 client experience. So going back to my desktop, I can come here to my Chrome browser. And here I already logged in, but I can see the same look and feel on the application side. And if I double click on Microsoft Office and right click on Excel, I have now the option to either choose the client or the HTML5 client experience. HTML5 client does not require any software installed on your computer, which is great when you're traveling. So when the application is launched, I see the same application look and feel. I can open my DB in business again. Let's use a read-only view. And one thing that I wanted to highlight, which is very important, is if you collect in file print, it does not generate PDF like in the mobile client. It will use the same Parallels printer driver, and now we will interact with the local printer that we have on my Mac. Here is the output in one-click printing as well. Another feature we have in the portal is here the task list or the task applications that you have. If you open more than one, you can switch between back and forth like a virtual desktop. So I maximize the app here, and I can click on the DNB again, switch back and forth. The X button is an actual X button that will be closing the app. Clicking on the X, it closes the app. Very seamless. Now, if I want to use richer experience like local disk access or even scanner or better compression because the connectivity is not so great, because the internet is not working great in the hotel, we can right-click over here and use the Parallels client. And now we'll be connecting to my demo environment like I did before, and I carried my sessions from the iPad client to client because it's similar resolution. And here I can see my Excel and my Word document here. If I minimize, they will become icons on my desktop, and once I close them, they will be either saved or the information can be locally saved or saved on the cloud. It's up to the user or the administrator to decide. And the last part of this demonstration, I wanted to show a little bit more about the backend on the console side. We have done significant improvements in the farm level when we talk about publishing agents. Now we have the active publishing agents where you have more than two that can be acting as a production environment distributing the load. This resolves two problems. One of them is in the past we had a active passive load balancer on the publishing agent that was manually changed. Now it's automatic. And now we automatically distribute the load and performance between different publishing agents. So the publishing agents, they're talking to each other every X amount of seconds, and they are controlling independently and talking about who is connected, what applications they have. In case one of those publishing agents fails, hardware, VM is not available, run out of disk space, or whatever, the other publishing agents will automatically pick up the load and redistribute. So the users will not be disconnected. And if they get disconnected because of internet connectivity issues, they will be reconnected to the session that they have saved. The second piece that have been improved, which I showed you visually, the HTML5 gateway, is the ability now that you can determine what kind of experience the portal will act. So the first one is only HTML5, like we had in version 15.0. Only launching the Parallels client, which was a very specific feature of the web portal, which you do not have to use it anymore. You can use the HTML5 gateway only launching Parallels clients. Or what I already have showed you before, which is the Parallels client with the fallback feature. Again, it's important here, the gateways are now load balanced using our hub. And this information now it's configured here in the gateway payload and the SSL payload, where we add those different gateways and we are distributing gateway traffic automatically. On the policy side, very important features is related to printing. In the connection properties now here in Experience, we have the universal printing compression policy that works based upon connection speed, auto discovery, we're metering in real time, or you can change different settings between user groups or gateway access and so on. But we recommend customers now to use based on connection speed, and then we determine the best way to compress it. The same feature is now introduced into the universal scanning compression policies. So you can leverage that out and make it, printing faster and more reliable, and scanning, of course. On the licensing side, Now we introduced where we show you, for example, what is the account that you have the license activated. And for Splunk customers, you can use the same license key for multiple farms. And every day that information is handed over to Parallels My Account. We have a few YouTube videos showing how Parallels My Account works, but essentially we are taking a snapshot every day of peak and rolling that up to my account. We resolve a big problem in the licensing count. Up to version 15, if you had two users, let's say user one connected, one from the iPad, another one from a PC, we used to consider that as two counts of concurrent user. In version 15.5, that has been resolved, and if you have two user ones connected from a Parallels remote application server perspective, it's only one license count. On the reporting side, we have improved the performance and the loading, where you can now see broader time frame of the reports. In this case, I'm showing you like the last 7 days of application usage. The loading process is much quicker. And here in the user activity, I actually put a much longer time frame showing from end of June all the way to today how the users have been accessed with active times, idle times, and disconnect times. So basically, we have done a lot of those improvements that are under the hood, but making sure the product is much more scalable and now reliable for larger environments. So that basically covers my demonstration. And now I would like to open the questions for our Q&A and address the questions that you might have.